Hello. Hey. How we doing, Mr. Gabby? Terrible. I think I'm on the verge of doing something my audience will probably find annoying, but it's out of just like pure hatred for a group of people. Ugh. Pure hatred? Yes, and I'm not even joking. I'm being dead serious. You gotta say what it is. It's becoming a Firefly main and parading the Firefly Nova Flare buff when it comes out with a ton of zero cycle clears. Because I genuinely hate every single miserable ass person on every single one of my posts about Firefly being annoying as shit. Whoa. How are you doing? Terrible. I don't care anymore about whether or not she deserves a buff. I've already said that I'm aware other many characters deserve a buff before her. What I hate are the disingenuous people on my channel trying to push agendas constantly under every post I make about her. It could be unrelated to the Nova. If I just say Firefly or say anything Firefly related, people are just instantly annoying in my comments, so I just don't care about logic anymore. Like, people don't want to use logic when I discuss with them, so it's like, what's the point? I'm just getting tired of it, man. Also, Firefly fucking falls off a cliff in single target. This is the problem once again with like people using zero cost or sorry, like low cost zero cycles as a benchmark. Because if you use low cost zero cycles as a benchmark, Fei Xiao has a better team than Firefly. And no, that isn't a joke. Against Lygus, Fei Xiao has better clears than Firefly even with Dahlia. And this is pre-Ash Veil, by the way. Ash Veil's like actually a pretty hefty buff for Fei Xiao. You watch JoJo's? No. I don't remember what Firefly's beta was like. I do remember. I did keep up with it, but it was so long ago I barely remember it anymore. If I remember correctly, during her first few versions, she was being doom posted to all hell because she was like a lot weaker. And then I think it was in one of the last few versions where she got buffed a bit. Hello, tactician. She is similar to Jing Liu. Well, yeah, but Dolly is way stronger than like Tribihia wheelchair for her. Well, temporarily. Stop talking about Firefly and Yao Guang stuff. It only makes you miserable. It's not just Firefly Yao Guang stuff though. That's just because it's the recent topic. It's anything, dude. It really is anything. People are just incredibly annoying and disingenuous when it comes to these topics. Like, it's just frustrating, man. I don't know. It makes me more sad than mad that I have to deal with this shit. Because I've already been dealing with it for like forever. But I'm at the point where like it's just happened so many times that I'm much more prone to like crashing out and shit. Buff Seal will be stronger than Faye. At base probably, yeah. Capybara is tired. I mean, yeah. I think it's just we have our differing opinions. There's nothing wrong with differing opinions. I just don't like it when people lie. Like 99% of these discussions that I have with people is just them lying. You know what I'm saying? Like people going as far as to say that Heislands for Dot doesn't matter as much as Dahlia for Break. I then go and try to test this myself on my only account with the Dot Premium team. I remove Heislands and that shit's a brick. If I put Dot against a favorable matchup, these people say it's an unfair comparison because it's a good boss for them. If I put Dot against SparksyCon, I now have people in my comments saying I'm agenda pushing and that I'm trying to make Dot look worse than it actually is. I can't win, bro. Literally, no matter what I fucking do, it's annoying. And they're constantly shifting goalposts. I counter what they're saying, and then they just straw man. It's just annoying, man. The amount of people who bring in genuine discussion is like fucking a fraction. You know what I'm saying? It's like a fucking fraction of the people who actually know what they're talking about. Yeah, exactly. Like for example, when I brought up the Dot thing, right? Like Dot is already incredibly strong. Dot has some of the best early verticals in the game, and Dot is still getting buffed. The argument that has been used against me is basically the Dot buffs were promised to me 3,000 years ago. Right? Dot was bad literally 2 years ago. And because of this, they are allowed to be buffed to infinity and beyond. And it's better than Firefly continuously getting buffed because Dot deserves it. Because once again, they were bad 2 years ago, is the argument I get met with. Like, for example, even Tactician has in this chat said that he agrees with Dot is also getting overbuffed. Even Tactician, right? And it's like, thank you. But wow, like the amount of people who genuinely think Dot deserves more buffs on top of what they've already gotten, and that it's somehow different to Firefly getting buffed more, is like stupid to me. Like, for example, you guys wouldn't know this because I cropped it out of my recent community post where I was talking about Firefly pre Dahlia, right? I cropped it out, but I'll tell you guys the characters who were above Firefly against Flame Reaver in 3.6. You'll be surprised, I promise you. The teams above Firefly and clearing against 3.6 Flame Reaver are main DPS Triby, main DPS RMC, Jing Liu, Saber, Faye, main DPS Moze, Yun Li, main DPS Silverwolf, main DPS Cypher, Acheron, Jue E also had a better clear than Firefly against Flame Reaver. All of those characters right there, non-DPS characters, had better clears than Firefly. There's way more, by the way, but those are like the more astounding ones that people wouldn't expect. Yes, Moze, Jue, the other ones. And then yes, Firefly has a better clear against Iker, right? Because there was also Iker on this exact same thing. And people were saying, why didn't you use Iker? Because Iker is the most shilled boss of all fucking time. Iker is on the level of Pollux. That guy takes 50% less damage if he isn't broken, and takes 50% more if he is broken. Obviously, a break DPS is going to do better there. And then even then, she's still like Aggie level. Even with this shield ass boss pre Dahlia, she's only Aggie level. Hello, Burley. They should low-key make Firefly a bounce DPS. I feel like that would fix a lot of her issues. What do you guys think about that? Because Firefly in single target is like really chopped currently, I'm not gonna lie. Iker is not shield. Iker is shield. Solely off the fact that one, break teams are the fastest at eating through toughness bars, and two, the huge burst of damage that they do, at least pre-Dahlia, is all in on when the enemy is broken, right? If you use, let's say you have Iker, right? Remove the gimmick that he takes 50% less damage when not broken and 50% increased when broken. Firefly falls off a cliff in terms of the clears there, and the cost goes up exponentially. And it'd be near the same cost probably as her clear for Flame Reaver, which is like 8 or 9, which is my point, right? Like, Iker's fucking 50% increase when he gets weakness broken. You look at characters like Phanon, he just brute forces it. He can't even take advantage of the fucking gimmick because he just brute forces it anyways. But you wouldn't be able to see that. 400 toughness bottlenecks to you too much? Yes, but 400 toughness bottlenecks everybody. It bottlenecks everybody. The team it bottlenecks the least is Firefly. This is my point. It bottlenecks everybody. Ua is also going through a bit of an agenda war because of Sigrika. I mean, why? Isn't she like 5% stronger or something at max or something? I don't know. Well, yeah, Nova Flares aren't about who deserves it the most, which is why this entire fiasco is stupid. The fact this wasn't obvious to people, when the second Nova Swan got announced, this should have been obvious. The second Nova Swan got announced. You know what I'm saying? Dot with Cyrene was already getting 3 to 4 cost clears against everything without Nova Swan. Right? Everything. Then you have Huohuo. Don't get me wrong. Huohuo could definitely use a sustain buff. But Luocha, Fushuan, Ling Sha, right? There are significantly other sustains with worse value than Huohuo who aren't getting Nova flared before her because Hoyo knows they can make more money off of a Nova flared Huohuo, right? You can make her a filler sustain for Elation. You can make her a filler sustain for Dot. You can make her a filler sustain for other shit, right? You can make a ton of filler sustains with like a Huohuo because she's just that general, which is the point. It's never been about, the character who's the weakest, because otherwise Jing Yuan and Seal would have been the first Nova Flares. Why is Seal getting Nova Flared now? In my opinion, probably as a filler DPS for Ashvale. You know what I'm saying? That's probably the only reason why. Hoyo only Nova Flares characters that they can kind of like use to sell other characters. That's literally all Nova Flare is. Dot deserves all the buffs that they got and more considering how shit they got treated by one character per whole version. But couldn't you make this argument for Firefly? Ling Sha did not buff Firefly teams in the slightest. In fact, sometimes Gallagher can be better with a non-E2 Firefly because of the SP positivity. Ruan Mei was just a general break buff, and she wasn't even in V2 either. The only break characters you got in the entirety of V2, in all reality for buffing break teams, is HMC and Fugue. And Fugue is comparable to free Ruan Mei for Firefly. So if you want to make the argument about a DPS barely getting any teammate buffs for like a year plus, and you also want to make the argument about them not really working all that well, this literally applies to Firefly. Yes, I won't disagree that Dot was pretty scuffed as well when they first released. But once again, this is the buffs were promised to us 3,000 years ago, so we're allowed to be buffed to infinity and beyond, and you're not. It's just a double standard. What about Boohill and Rappa? Rappa actually has Fugue as like a massive best in slot, because Rappa cares about getting as many breaks as possible, which Fugue's Exo Toughness can synergize with, so that she can get more energy. Like, Fugue is exceptional for Rappa, and Fugue is also more of a buff for Boothill. For Firefly, not really, until you get into further vertical investment. Whoa, leg. No, exactly. And then there's also the hypocrisy of everything, where 99% of people saying that the Firefly Nova Flare is unfair, instead of saying, you know, let's buff Jing Yuan, let's buff Argenti, let's buff Dill, are instead saying like, oh, bro, my Acheron needs a buff. My Fei Xiao needs a buff. The hypocrisy. Brother, those DPSs, despite how scuffed they are currently, are nowhere near as scuffed as some of these fucking V1 male DPSs. Like, I've been waiting for a Dill Nova Flare for like over a year at this point, I think. I thought they'd do it when they Nova'd Sparkle and maybe in the next batch. But then I caught on to the pattern of the Nova Flares and I realized that's probably not going to happen. Because, for example, someone in my comments was saying that it makes sense to Nova Dill and they'd still be able to make money off him. But, like, no, they wouldn't, man. Not really. I mean, you can make money technically off of anything, but Dill wouldn't at all make enough money for them as a Nova Flare until maybe some long time in the future or some throwaway Nova. But for now, they really don't care about Dill. Yeah, exactly, Uni. And then Fei Xiao, keep in mind, is also getting Ashvale currently, who is also a buff for her teams. You know, don't use this as a standard, by the way, but people love using it as a standard, right? These sustainless zero cycles. Look at how good Firefly is doing. Fei Xiao is doing better than like half of the Amphorius cast at MOC zero cycling. The metric is just stupid in general, man. She's doing better than Firefly by a mile against Lagus, I'm pretty sure. Because Firefly falls off quite a bit in pure single target. Actually, let me check. What was Fei Xiao's best clear against current Lagus? I don't remember. So Fei Xiao's best clear against current Lygus is E2 Fei Xiao, E1 Robin, Mo's RMC at 5 cost. And then Firefly is at 11 cost. I do think it can be lowered. There's a 7-1, but as always with these fucking low-cost Firefly clears, they're using the Harmony Break Cone from the Battle Pass. So without Battle Pass, the lowest is 11 cost against Lygus. Zero cycles is not a good metric for character strength. I know. That's my point. I've been trying to say this shit since the beginning when it came to people trying to like deny Firefly getting a Nova Flare. But nobody has given a shit. They've kept bringing up fucking 2-omp zero cycles. So I used it against them. And then they said, nah, you know, it isn't the same. It's unfair. This isn't a favorable matchup. This and that. Like, it's fucking, come on, man. Oh yeah, Firefly is a behemoth in terms of popularity in CN. I do think Acheron is more popular over here, like in the West, but in CN it's a blowout by Firefly. To be honest, I'm not like a Firefly hater, but I really don't understand how she's that popular. A lot of people confuse me saying that I don't have a problem with Firefly getting a Nova Flare as saying that like, oh my god, I absolutely love Firefly, I'd die for her, let me agenda post. Like, no. I don't I don't care about Firefly that much in all honesty. She's cool though. I do like her. I like what I like about Firefly is the Sam suit. That was the original reason I really liked her. But like Firefly herself, eh? I'm not a story guy to begin with, so like I don't know what you're going through or anything. Yeah, I like. Hmm. In terms of like just pure coolness, my favorite female character from HSR, it's probably between Fei Xiao and Acheron. Those are probably my two favorites. I think I might like Acheron a little more than Fei Xiao. Oh yeah, really. Yeah, Herda is also really cool. I hope Herda gets a Nova at some point soon. She'll probably be one of the first Ampho DPSs to get buffed, I imagine, among the likes of Phanon. Which, yes, I will stand 10 toes down on this. I'm predicting it right now. You know, you can clip it if you want to. I think Phanon will end up in a Firefly situation, and people are going to be complaining all over again. Because they're going to do the exact same bullshit they just did with Firefly with Phanon. Whether people like it or not. Phanon is just Firefly V2, but a dude. Like, kit-wise, that's literally all he is. Now, Phanon is more general, so he can get indirectly buffed more easily in comparison to Firefly, who couldn't really get indirectly buffed because she's mainly a break DPS. But he's still going to be definitely one of the first ones to get buffed. I have not been streaming for 5 hours. I am not someone who is built for that. I don't think people will complain about Phanon. No, they definitely will. I'm telling you right now, if that Sunday Nova Flare thing is real, they will complain. For the sole reason that currently, because of Buff Sparkle, Phanon has now become competitive with Mono-Rem, even at like whale levels of investment. Before, people were clowning him. Oh, you know, flop non, AV consumption in ult, way too clunky. But now, because of Buzz Sparkle, he actually is competitive with Mono-Rem again. And he's better at lower cost than Mono-Rem. At least, Cassie Mono-Rem. Evernight Hypercarry is still better, of course. Probably, Uni. Why is she holding a mic? Because she sings. She likes singing. Phanon doesn't need a Nova right now? Well, yeah, he doesn't need a Nova, but he's probably going to get it anyways. Like, people are going to say the exact same thing once V4 comes, and this entire... I guarantee you it's going to happen. Oh, why isn't my Eggy getting a Nova instead? Why isn't my Cypher getting a Nova instead? Why isn't my Seri getting a Nova instead? Why isn't Anoxa getting a Nova instead to make a more main DPS? Why aren't the collab characters getting Nova? Saber has been shafted all this time. Shit like that. Oh yeah, my day as well. Nova Heislands for the Dot folks and they'll still complain. Yep. I'm not gonna lie, if Dot actually gets Nova Jiaoqiu, I better see people keeping the same fucking energy, man. Okay? I better see it. If I don't, oh my god, man. These fuckers are about to get an entirely Nova flared team with a Dahlia equivalent, man. Chill out. I mean, I have a Dot premium team. My Dot team on my Firefly account is E1 Heislands, E0, what's it called? S5 Sample Lycone, and E1 Kafka. And I'm obviously going to pick up Nova Huohuo. She'll definitely be a buff to the sustain team. But, like, at the exact same time, dude, like, can we please move on, man? Like, no offense. I would love a Nova Flare for Dot, you know? Like, I only gain from it. But can we please move the fuck on, man? No, Wowo will be an insane buff to Dot no matter what the second she gets Nova Flared. She already is the best in slot Dot sustain. People just don't use her because of her SP economy and sustain issues. So it's like the buffs aren't really worth it. You'd rather use PT because you can basic most of the time. But a buffed Wowo where these issues are gone and probably has buffed buffing, it wouldn't even be close. To be honest, it would be like kind of. I imagine putting Wowo in there would almost be similar to like having a Ting Yun basically, but for the entire team, in terms of like ER buffing and attack buffing. Oh yeah, I forgot. Wowo also is free, so you can like get the E1 as well with the speed buff for the team, which the Dot team fucking loves. Greedy sons of a bitches, man. Greedy. It's never enough for them. E1 is free. Depends on how many golden tokens you have or if you already own Wowo. Because you can just get it for free through the golden tokens. Like, for example, I just made a new account and you can still claim 3.7's golden token. So by 4.2, I'll have two, and I would have been able to claim E1 Wowo for free. Rip Uni. E1 Robin, though, we good, man. I feel like they might be quite tame with Woho. No, they won't be. The reason they won't be tame with Woho is specifically because of the team she's actually mainly being targeted towards, which is Elation Filler, which automatically increases her stocks like tenfold. You could maybe make the argument if like she was a filler sustain for Dot and not Elation, then yeah, maybe. But her being a filler sustain for like the fucking team until likely at near the end of the version gives her a lot of a lot of benefit. I was asking you earlier how to invest in E0 cast Triby Evernight Hyacine, and you said kick cast and play Hypercarry Evernight, but I was tried her and she was way worse than Cassie. Are you running RMC? You need to run Evernight with RMC. And if you're running an E0 S1 Evernight with RMC and Hyacine, it should definitely be better than Cassie no matter what. Otherwise, something's wrong, probably. Doesn't Evernight need RMC and Cyrene, though? Cyrene is an equal buff to Mono Rem with Cassie and Evernight Hypercarry. So it doesn't matter. Even without Cyrene, Evernight should be stronger. They both get buffed by like 40% as compared to Triby. Ugh. 1 second. And I'm back. I tried this with my mono rem at lower investment. Hyper carry Evernight performs worse than mono rem. That shouldn't be a thing though, is the problem. Like, mono rem is worse than hyper carry Evernight by a decent amount for like in early costs. I think even E0 Evernight this applies to. Yeah, I think Sparks Econ is a good thing I can probably use for this, because Lagus is just a shield boss anyways. So we have 3 for Evernight using Evernight, Cyrene, Tribi, RMC. Or 4 actually, because that's with Battle Pass Cone. Where's Cassie? Oh my god. How many people love Evernight, man? What? So many clears. Cassie needs 6. Cassie needs almost double the cost to accomplish the same thing. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I do think, I will say, I think maybe it's just harder for people to play Hypercarry Evernight optimally, because Cassie is one of the most brain dead characters in the entire game. She used to be less brain dead originally when she didn't get like all these perfectly synergistic teammates. There was actually some like cool ways to play around her. But now Cassie is just dragon explode dragon, dragon explode dragon, dragon explode dragon. So it could also be maybe that I'm overestimating Evernight for like the average player, maybe. Possibly. No, yeah. Evernight loves action advance. That's the only reason why she's better than Cassie's with RMC. If you don't have RMC, it's like a lot more scuffed. I remember, what was it? I remember I was in a Waveman stream, and he was helping a viewer clear against anomaly arbitration, and he ended up finding out the hard way that replacing, was it like Ruan Mei or something? Replacing some AoE support with E1 Robin actually led to a better clear because of Robin's action advance. And that was really funny. Which character has the highest skill ceiling in your opinion? Um, Off the top of my head, it's just Fei Xiao, no? It's definitely Fei Xiao. I feel like Fei Xiao is one of those characters where if you were to look at strictly the sweatiest players in the game play her, she'd look like she is 3.x DPS level, and sometimes even beating a lot of them. But when you look at an average player play Fei Xiao, they're probably complaining about barely being able to clear MOC in the slightest. And there isn't really any other DPS that has like that large of a discrepancy, in my opinion, of like casual versus sweat player that plays them. Yeah, you could say the same for Acheron as well, I guess, but still think Fei Xiao ones are usually like pretty crazy sometimes. Old Seal was like that. Well, yeah, but Seal just fell off massively because of the multipliers. I don't disagree though. Yeah, like Seal used to be the one that was praised for having the like highest skill gap in HSR for 0 cycles back then. Like I remember there was like because this was around the time some of the biggest gotcha CCs were quitting HSR and making fun of it for its power creep and HP inflation. And then you had like some of the more sweaty CCs, like for example Zolza. Zolza made a video after getting like a 1 cost 0 cycle with Seal against like Nikador, and it was also possible against Trusting as well. I believe in 3.0 as well. And yeah, it went to show how big of a difference it can make. The RMC dilemma is real in the future. I get what you're saying, but personally, I truthfully think RMC is still more valuable than EMC. So, like, if you were someone who wants to go for Evernight Hyper Carry, I don't know if I'd recommend it on her next rerun. I would have said sure on this one. On the next one, not so much, right? But there's not really any MC contesting RMC still right now, in my opinion. Because I do think EMC, I think most of us can agree on this. EMC is looking like an HMC situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, probably doesn't have action advance, is giving characters extra elation skills, which, like, who the fuck are. How are non elation characters going to use extra elation skills, right? Probably elation damage buffing, in which also does nothing for non-elation characters. I feel like RMC is going to continue to be the best value MC throughout the entirety of this version. So Evernight hyper carry wanners or users can still get by without pulling elation and using EMC on those teams completely fine, in my opinion. Should I pull Evernight E2 to be able to easily clear all the way to 5.x of Mono Realm with Chiribi? Or pull E1 Evernight, E1 Hyacine? E2 Evernight. E2 Evernight all day long. E2 Evernight is such an insane fucking buff, man. It is a disgusting buff. I think Mono Rem will be outdated. Well, yes, obviously. I don't disagree. But if you already own some building blocks to some teams, it can still be worth it to invest into them, in my opinion. We That's basically what I'm doing on my main account with Phanon right now. I'm going for fucking E2 Fae, E2 Cyrene. Because if I'm able to get that out of the way, then I can use my buff Sparkle finally on someone. And I can run an E2 S1 Fae, E2 Cyrene, Ceridra, buff Sparkle team. Which should be good for a long ass time to come. Oh my god. You guys don't understand. That shit is set for me. So good. Yeah, whatever, Solus. Actually, does anybody know how much HP Plight Sparksicon has? I don't even remember. Is it like 100 milli? What do you predict the 4.2 banners will be? I don't know. I'm too tired to think that much. Maybe like Cyrene, Cassie, Tribby maybe? On one side? Wait, what? Do you actually believe Dahlia provides the same value to break as Heislands provides to Dot? I did a 1 cycle on night 1 and 0 cycled first phase of Sparks Econ with a 4 cost non-Heislands team. I don't doubt you can... Here's the thing. Akar, I know this. Because I didn't get a 0 cycle with mine. Because keep in mind, it was just a first try, no optimization. But I did get a pretty decent 1 cycle on the first phase against Sparks Econ. And I thought you were right. I genuinely thought you were right. Keep this in mind when I did that. But then the second I went to an actual boss, which was Sparks Econ herself, holy fuck, it fell off. Like, you could see it in the thing. She still had like 75% HP left on the second phase. And then on top of this, what's it called? Like, I died. My Dan Hung PT couldn't sustain anymore because she was spamming attacks on Kafka on the inside, and I didn't have the skill points to spare for it. So, while yes, the first phase against Sparksicon is pretty easy, I myself experienced that. The second you actually go into a boss with massively HP inflated shit and mechanics, the team falls off drastically. Like, fucking drastically. Sparks Econ is 55 mil times 2. Oh, so it's 110 mil HP. Okay. Sparks Econ is made against Dot. And yeah, you can argue this. But the point is, Heislands elevates Dot so insanely high to the point where they can brute force Sparks Econ at low cost. You know what I'm saying? Like, this goes to show you, if you remove a Heislands, Dot fucking just falls apart against a Sparks Econ. If you add a Heislands, they literally thrive. Yeah, Dot has a 4 cost 0 cycle against Sparks Econ with Heisland. I don't even want to know how much cost you need to achieve the same thing without. Yeah, like Sparks Econ counters a ton of characters. Phanon doesn't get the res pen. That's a great point. Nobody on the team can attack outside of the thing to actually feed Phanon more res pen to make eating through the boss easier. He literally just fully brute fucking forces it. Mono Rem gets split up, which can be really annoying. It's a counter to a lot of teams. Did you see the Nangang Yu skin? Yeah, I did. Just randomly scrolling through Twitter. That's because the fight specifically helps Heislands. If you try on other bosses, I'm sure you would get different results. I get what you're saying, but it doesn't change anything, dude. There isn't a single dot zero cycle, even against Lygus, that does not consist of Heislands. Why is that? People, of course, do not run dot without Heislands and get zero cycles because it's so fucking expensive, probably. Or they can't afford it, or they can't do it. Even against Lygus. Like, Kafka and Swan on their own are weak. I don't care what anyone says. They're fucking weak. They are way, way weaker as compared to running with Icelands. Hisons provide massive value for Dot, but in my opinion, it's nowhere near close to Dahlia. I want to just quickly put something in perspective for you, right? Pre-Heislands, there were no dot zero cycles. Like, almost none existed. Right? Firefly was still getting 8 cost, 9 cost zero cycles pre-Dahlia. Right? She was still able to get some without even touching double digit cost. Dot wouldn't even fucking show up on the leaderboard for getting zero cycles at all against any endgame pre-Heislands. There is definitely an argument that Heislands matters as much, if not more, than Dahlia for Dot. Like, I want you to understand just how unfair this comparison is in the first place, right? You have to compare Heislands to Nova flared versions of her teammates, who some just recently got Nova flares, comparing Dahlia to un-Nova flared break characters, and Heislands is still in this conversation anyways. Why are we even doing Heislands versus Dahlia to DPS and a support? Because people are trying to make the argument, I don't know why, but just that Heislands isn't as big of a buff as compared to Dahlia for break. So, for example, the argument is Dot can function fine without Heislands, but break cannot function without Dahlia. But I disagree with this, just personally. Dot fucking blows without fucking Heislands. Shit is trash. I mean, yeah, that's what I've been trying to argue this entire time. That they're both incredibly important to their teams. And that they're, like, to be honest, some could argue, like, close, competitive, equal, whatever, for what they add. No, that's what I'm saying. And that's why I just hate these topics anymore on my channel. Because it's always, my shit is getting nitpicked every time I bring up something. If I bring up Firefly clears and her struggling against the boss, it's, oh, it's not the most shilled boss of all time, so it's an unfair comparison. Use this boss that massively nerfs everybody else, but not as much to Firefly, and then say she still deserves a Nova, right? But then, if at the same time I were to do something for Dot, similarly, let's say I give them, I show their performance against a favorable boss or an unfavorable boss. There's people fucking spamming my comments saying that I'm agenda pushing because I'm using it against said boss, whether or not I'm trying to make them look bad or good. It's annoying, man. It's so fucking annoying. Like, people can't decide because they want to constantly agenda post that Firefly doesn't need a buff. If I show a Firefly clear against Lygus and I show them Fei Xiao beating Firefly by like 2 or 3 fucking cost against Lygus, you know what they're going to say? It's an unfavorable boss. You can't use this as an example. Use it against the 3 target Fire Week shared HP boss in SparksyCon instead, because that's more fair.
You can count on me.
Oh yeah, Heislin's and I've been saying this before. Like, Heislin's and Kafka can work without Swan. And even to, yes, a much worse extent, a Kafka-less Heislands somehow has better clears than a Dahlia-less Firefly, right? This was an argument I was getting met with a lot on, like, my dot shit, of, like, people saying that, what's it called? Like, Heislands also can't function without Kafka at all. Like, can't clear endgame content as well. The same as Firefly can't function without Dahlia. But, like, if you have a vertically invested in Cyrene and you have a vertically invested in Heisland, I looked it up. That shit low key still slaps, bro. It is worse. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot worse. You need a lot more cost, but it still fucking slaps. I thought it'd be way worse. Last question. I have 3 golden spirits. We'll be pulling mono elation. I don't know. I genuinely just don't know, man. I'd say just save them, the Leica ones. I mean, people just don't like it because of jealousy. That's literally all it is, man. Like, once again, it is completely understandable to not be happy that Firefly is getting a buff. I have been repeating this at least 100 times since I got into this convo. And yesterday, I went to go look at fucking, what's it called? I wanted to watch a video on Mr. Pokey's opinion about the Firefly buff. And there's already people lying on my name in his fucking comment section saying that, oh, but Gabby Maru told me Firefly deserves a buff before all these other characters. This is what I mean. These are the people I have to fucking deal with when I make my videos. It is completely understandable to say Firefly doesn't deserve a buff before a ton of other characters. I am more annoyed by people saying that a Nova Flare is like unusable for Firefly because there's nothing to buff for her. That is what I get annoyed by, right? And I also get annoyed by the double standard of people not calling out dot Nova Flares, not calling out Ho-Oh getting Nova Flared over characters like Fushwan and Luocha, right? Not calling out fucking, what's it called? A bunch of other shit. It's annoying. Yeah, exactly. There's also this. It's like, I don't want to be, I don't like being those people, right? Who are like, oh, you only make up like 5% of this game's player base, so this game doesn't need to give you any love, right? I'm not one of those people. I love having a good amount of diversity among characters in games because too much of anything can get stale sometimes. But when you literally have fucking Anon leaks telling us that statistically Firefly owners are 100 times more active than Rappa and Boot Hill ones combined, right? Not separately. Firefly mains are 100 times more active than both of them combined. How the fuck do you expect this game to genuinely try and sell you something? Yeah, exactly. E2 Cassie, albeit it is a slightly unfair comparison, because E2 Cassie, just being a 3.x character, is obviously stronger than a V2 one, right? I think Firefly's E2 jump is like 50 to 60%, and then there's also the QOL of SP positivity or neutrality, which isn't included in there, which makes it closer to Cassie, but still, Cassie has a bit of an edge with her E2. I ran E2 Cassie with Gala, RMC Ruan May, and I got nearly a zero cycle on the first wave of the MOC at the time, right? I think it was Kokoli aside. I did the same thing for Firefly, same teammates, and keep in mind, Firefly technically has the advantage here. HMC is a dedicated break buffer, right? Ruan Mei is a break buffer who is competitive with Fugue, a literal limited HMC upgrade for Firefly, right? And she gets Gallagher, who is an actual break sustain. Meanwhile, without Tribby, Gallagher fucking blows on a Cassie team. The main value of Gallagher on a Cassie team is paired with Tribby so that her follow-ups can trigger his dumbass Besotted. And Firefly leaves these enemies on like 70 to 80% HP left in like a zero cycle on the first wave. So Cassie, with a less shield team, equal investment to Firefly, is like 3x. 3x as strong in comparison, which is like, how? And keep in mind, the funniest part, listen, the funniest part about all of this is Cassie isn't even the strongest remembrance DPS. It's her fucking sub DPS. So I'm comparing her to the lower end of an HP scaling Rem DPS, and she's still getting her ass beat. Because keep in mind, Evernight is less reliant on Hyacine in comparison to what Cassie is with Hyacine, right? Like Evernight can actually run no Hyacine and still be, for the most part, fine. In fact, she's the only HP scaling Rem DPS that can be ran sustainless and sometimes get better performance. Evernight also has the better Eat a Lot investment as well, which would have made it even worse in all honesty. I forgot about that. E2 Evernight is a fucking behemoth. I mean, I get what you're saying, Anon, but you need to keep in mind, Anon came up with these statistics pre-Dahlia. And pre-Dahlia, Rappa and Firefly were close. So this is why this argument doesn't really make any sense to me. Because Boot Hill and Rappa got buffed more from Fugue than Firefly did. So they all ended up being like basically at the same tier of clearing endgame content. But Firefly was way fucking worse at Pure Fiction, which really hurt some of her general value if you're looking for a DPS to tackle everything. And Anon came out with these statistics pre-Dahlia. It wasn't after Dahlia. Really, the only excuse you can come up with for Firefly mains being 100 times more active than the other two break DPSs combined is she has better verticals, she got pushed more. Which, yeah, like I wouldn't disagree with that. But that in no way makes up for like a 100x activity increase, in my opinion. Like at that point, it just goes to show the Firefly mains are way more dedicated. And people, once again, people are going to be mad in V5 because I guarantee you some of the first Ampho DPSs to get buffed are going to end up being Phanon and Cassie. I guarantee you. The Remembrance teams do not need Cassie, bro. Now, Cassie doesn't have anywhere near the same amount of base kit issues as, what's it called? Has Firefly. So I'm not saying she deserves it like Firefly does. Cassie's situation is mainly just multipliers for the most part, right? And obviously having a gimmick ultimate in comparison to her competition, Evernight, who has a normal energy ultimate, which is a lot more easier to handle, right? But those will probably be some of the first Chrysos Air DPS buffs, whether people like it or not, because of sheer popularity and the fact that they both have an excuse to get buffed. No, exactly. That's the craziest part to me, Butterbean. When it comes to this entire conversation, and with people hating on this entire thing, it's like, yes, right. Your fave character hasn't gotten Nova flared. Firefly's getting Nova flared. Blah 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 blah. Right. If a lot of people are telling me it ruins the game balancing if you buff a Firefly, but how? Right? Because eventually they're gonna start Nova flaring the Chrysos heirs, and then similar to what Firefly did, the Chrysos heirs are now gonna be stronger again as compared to Firefly. And in all honesty, if it's like V5, you know, they'll probably be stronger than a majority, if not all, V4 characters as well. The exact same as Firefly Nova, right? Like, this isn't a one-time thing for specifically Firefly. This is something that is going to be endlessly repeating with these Nova flares year after year after year after year. Yeah. And then what I get in response to this is mainly people just like I understand, right? Everybody in their ideal fantasy world wants HSR to be this perfect game in their eyes. So the argument I get met with a lot of the time is that, oh, I wish the Nova flares were for buffing really, really weak characters, even team wise, who need it the most, as compared to trying to shill and make some money off of some characters who could still get a buff. But it's like, that's just not gonna happen. Like, what do you want me to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you gonna sit here complaining about the way they do Nova Flares for literally eternity? Or are you just going to accept it and realize that they will not Nova Flare characters if it does not make a profit for them? You know what I'm saying? Exactly. The other thing is, Firefly isn't going to quote unquote break the scaling of the game, because literally, when she gets her Nova Flare, we're getting the two new Elation main DPSs, and Silverwolf is going to have Silverwolf, Sparksy, Yao, Guang, Huohuo team. And I guarantee you that shit's going to be stronger than Firefly no matter what. Also more universal for tackling the whole endgame. Which is another thing I want to talk about, by the way. I've made a video on this before. Am I the only one who is kind of bothered by the fact that even today, people still evaluate DPS values solely off of like AA and MOC? Because listen, I understand Pure Fiction used to be like the easiest thing possible, but I swear to God, with the insane amount of Pure Fiction HP inflation in the last year, I find that shit as difficult, if not sometimes more difficult than MOC. So when people are like, you know, Firefly is dot level, right? Personally, I get where they're coming from, MOC and like AA, but generally, no, because dot shits on them in Pure Fiction, for example. So it's like, I, I have this weird thingy where I care too much about general value. Maybe I care too much about it. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, Firefly is always going to have the advantage in terms of APOC value because of weakness implant for sure. I don't disagree. Like, that's just the thing. It's the same with my Anoxa on my account. My Anoxa just fucking breezes through APOC now that I got Seri because of the double skill gimmick. It just breezes. I got a 60 AV zero cycle against Kafka first try with sustain. Holy shit. That's pre Cyrene too. Isn't Dot the only team that is good in all the endgame modes? Uh, well, nah. There's Dot, Evernight, and it's Dot in Monorem basically. It's just Dot in Monorem. You can make an argument for Phaedon at E2. Even then, and like things like Pure Fiction, he needs significantly more cost to perform. But the E2 massively buffs Phaedon's performance in pure AoE. But still, yeah, it's mainly just Mono Rem and Dot. Oh yeah, the anytime Dot gets shilled, it's the most disgusting shill of all time. Every single time. I mean, I can check right now. I do think it's just Evernight, Hyper Carry, Mono Rem, and like Dot are like the most universal teams in the game. So like for MOC, Sparksycon, Heislands has like top tier clears, right? She's not beating the single target and bounce damage dealers, but still good. Against Lygus, same thing. One of the best clears outside of the bounce damage dealers in Mono Rem. APOC. Let's see, Pollux. So, oh wait, it's hard to see APOC clears. So Firefly's lowest cost clear is 3, I think, against APOC. Dot, are you here? I didn't skip you, did I? Oh wow, nobody used Dot against Pollux at all. GG's, man. I mean, tough. Against Kafka, surely Dot is used here, right? Wait, is there? Oh wait, no, there is. Yeah, there's a 0 cycle at 6 cost against APOC. And then in Pure Fiction, it's Dot, Mono Rem, and Herda. That's basically what it always is for Pure Fiction. Dot, Mono Rem, and Herda. What is an APOC 0 cycle? 150 AV is what it is. Because 150 AV is the amount of AV you spend on a 0 cycle against 1 wave of MOC. So if you clear within 150 AV on APOC, it's the equivalent of a 0 cycle. Yeah, exactly. When people talk about Pure Fiction is the easiest, 90% of the time, they are like happy with just getting a full star clear in Pure Fiction. And then in MOC, they judge characters off of like fucking 0 cycling and shit. Which is always funny to me. I swear, every single HSR mode, other than AA and MOC, people treat it the same way as they would any other game, right? Which is good, right? There's no double standard in the way they treat like Pure Fiction and as well as APOC, right? But the double standard when people compare like 0 cycling in MOC or fucking AA to, oh, you know, these other games, it's insane to me, bro. I feel like the HSR community is a little too meta pilled at this point, and they can't really get over it. You know, like, don't get me wrong, I love using 0 cycles, but I like using them for seeing the like ceiling of a character, right? Like what's possible. I don't at all expect the average player to genuinely be getting fucking 0 cycles at the same cost as these other sweatier players. Not at all, right? But it's also like 0 cycles are useless. My guy, you have 10 cycles to be able to get this shit. And if you have one overpowered team, you give your second team even more cycles, right? So for example, on my Firefly account, let's say I end up going for like a 0 cycle or a 1 cycle against Sparksycon boss. Now my second team has 10 to 9 cycles to tackle Lygus, right? Like that shit is still pretty good. All right, chat. I'm going to end the stream here. Thank you all for stopping by. I appreciate the discussion. It's always fun. I'm sorry for having an attitude as of late, man. This shit is really bothering me more than I should let in. I admit that. I'm sorry. Peace out.